think so.
Are you ready to be back in the saddle?
I'm in the saddle, dude. I've always been in the saddle.
No, tell me about the optimal crop.
I made a video about this and everybody said it was too zesty, but I like it.
Bro, I love it.
My belly feels cool. It was like 80 degrees outside today. And the air quality was really bad. Did you see that?
Bro, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was poor. I think there was actually a fire or something. But you know what?
Smoke out of Quebec.
Yeah.
Getting all the way down here.
Yeah, is that what that was?
It's out of Quebec.
Wow.
They got 160 fires going up there.
And the nice thing is, when I'm wearing this crop top, when I go do my pull downs, you can see my belly button. Dude, I tell you, I hurt myself like, I think late last week.
Bro, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, something got all funky in my trap, and I was sitting in my chair, doing a little gaming, and just like leaning forward right here, like an 8 out of 10, like sharp pain. I just like had to tough it out to stand up every time. I wouldn't want to sit down or move, do anything. It's pretty awful. And now I'm fine. Everybody told me it was dumb to keep training. Here we are. Let's see. First question. Thoughts on bulking if starting point is body fat percentage moderate and not much muscle mass? So basically they're skinny fat is what I'm guessing. If you're skinny fat and you're a beginner lifter, what I would suggest is just eating around maintenance. And if you're more so on the skinny versus fat side, then I would even do a slight surplus of say 100 to 300 calories and look to gain around 0.25 to 0.5 pounds per week. Because if you're a beginner, you're gonna make insane progress. So you're more than likely to recomposition where a more intermediate to advanced lifter would not. So if anything, even if you're eating at maintenance or a slight surplus, you're very likely to gain a lot more muscle than you would fat. And even though you're gaining weight, you're probably gonna come out looking leaner. So you can make crazy progress as a beginner, so long as you're training hard, eating enough protein, making sure you're getting enough sleep, take your Flintstone gummies. Wait, I can't say that, I have a supplement contract. Bleep that out. Take your Legion gummies. However, if you are on the more obese side, overweight side, you can do a really quick cut for however long you need. I don't know how long you need. I'm gonna need some more context on that for the individual. But you can do a quick cut and then I would immediately get into a gaining phase, take advantage of those beginner gains. All right. Ooh. Feels good.
How's the back?
I feel it in my lats. It feels nice. You know, you just get that strong contraction. I feel like a lot of people just kind of work out aimlessly. They don't really feel anything going on because they don't know how to actually squeeze and use their muscles, but I love that feeling. It feels good.
Question number 2?
Question number 2. Let me,
Everything must be documented.
Little lace up. Like my dad's shoes?
Wow, I love them.
Yeah, and the dad socks. Question 2. Trying to catch my breath, honestly. Oh, we're doing back right now. I can't seem to grow my lats specifically. Do you have any tips / common mistakes to avoid? So I would say that for a lot of people, if they're doing pull downs, while you will still get a good amount of lat out of it, if you're only staying in these upper ranges of motion right here, where you're leaning back super far as you're doing it, then you're going to be missing out on some of the mid to low lat that you could potentially be getting out of that movement. If you're doing like a more adduction based pull down, and then for something like a neutral grip pull down, if you are coming down and you're letting your arms travel away from your body, you could potentially be missing out on getting that nice contraction at the bottom of your pull down and getting a bit more perhaps rear delts, traps out of the movement. You'll still be getting some lats, of course, but for those people who have a hard time with growing their lats, you want to make sure that you're doing, you know, everything that you potentially can be to get more lat out of your movements. I would be doing some kind of row with a neutral grip because a lot of people only think about the mid to low lats as a way to get big, wide lats. But in reality, what you're really seeing in a lot of these poses are going to be your upper lats, which are trained really well with that neutral grip. And I often see people when they're doing those neutral grip rows, their arm path isn't actually staying through this range of motion. The majority of the time, they tend to either diverge as they're coming out, which in turn is going to involve, again, more rear delts and traps. So that's one thing I would think about. I would think about scraping the ground as you're pulling back, so kind of dropping that shoulder down and then pulling through the upper arm. Probably just take these off now so I can get up higher.
Bro, this POV
to the
is
ground.
crazy right now.
We'll do some wide bar parallel rows to the ground.
I feel like I'm hanging off a bridge and you're like holding me there. All right,
You
let's
guys
see
have a
it.
good perspective.
Let's see it.
All right, I don't want to hit your camera though.
Bro, you're fine. It'll be
good?
blessed.
All right, I'm sporadic, dude. You don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, I'll sell this.
Oh, it's like. Is cardio crucial for glute and leg growth? Well, cardio is not a mechanism of hypertrophy. It's not needed for hypertrophy. However, it can help your growth. If you're someone who's getting super winded during your sets, probably a good idea to do some cardio because you're probably losing out on some of those effective reps towards the end of the set that would be the most effective for growth if your cardio sucks. I've had plenty of clients say, oh, I'm too winded on squats or lunges. I can't get the, workout in properly because of that. Go do some cardio, So that's where it would actually help with growth. But you don't need to do cardio to grow, and you don't need to do cardio to lose weight either, so long as you're eating in a deficit. My arms look big? Wait.
Bro, they like, hold on, let me.
Oh, huge.
All right, nice. Question 4. That's 4 in Espanol. Have you ever gotten exertion headaches? If so, what did you do to fix them? Me personally, I have not. I'm a different breed, but I have had some clients who have gotten them. And what we did that helped with theirs immensely, to the point where they basically just didn't get them anymore unless they just had a bad day, would be fixing their water intake, fluids. So, making sure that they are well hydrated. And then 2, making sure that they were getting enough electrolytes in. So especially potassium, sodium, those are big ones. Most people are getting enough sodium, but a lot of people are not getting nearly enough potassium. So doing that helped a lot. So perhaps changing out some rice meals for some potato meals, sweet potato, russets, having some more fruits, greens throughout the day. But one easy thing that I've always liked doing was getting those big coconut waters from Costco or wherever, the liter joints, and then we would just add a little sprinkle of salt in there. So I would typically do a 1/4 teaspoon, but depending on your sodium intake throughout the day, if you're already eating a lot, you might not even need that. So just adding in that potassium may help a lot. Question number 5. If you could describe how you go on about life in one sentence, what would it be?
That's a huge question.
It's a pretty deep question, dude. I had to think about that one, honestly. I would say at this point in my life, this is not included in that one sentence. I'd say at this point in my life, I go about it driving myself to be more successful, but in such a way that does not take away from my happiness and my relationships. Because there was a point in my life where all that mattered to me was getting more and more and more successful, and it stressed me out like crazy, and it just wasn't a great time. Dude, I literally, every day I wanted to put my head through a wall because it was just nonstop work, and I just knew I couldn't sustain it, but I was seeing new heights in terms of income and being more successful as a coach, but it didn't translate to happiness, because I was always working. It was taking away time from my wife, time for my friends, time for my dog, my pets. And I was like, man, I'm literally just cooped up sitting here in this room, just doing check-ins, doing plans all day. And yeah, I have more money in the bank now, but what is that actually doing for me? Because, I came from a point where I wasn't making really anything, and I was literally counting change for gas. And I feel like that kind of lit a fuse in my head. And that's kind of what drove me to that point. But I drove myself to that point and then had the sense to realize that it was a bad place to be. Yeah. I was like, man, I feel like I should seriously consider taking a huge step back, and I just cut off taking on any more clients from that point on. So
That's huge.
yeah. Do a personal training question, a nutrition question, or a lifting question?
Nutrition.
Nutrition? All right. This is question number, is it 6?
I think so.
6. Should I eat the same on days off or reduce carbs since I'm not working out? Now, you don't necessarily have to do this. if your total net calories for the week equal towards whatever goal that you have, so say you have 2,000 calories to maintain and you eat that, you know, over the course of every single day for 7 days, you're gonna maintain. But if you have days that vary, so long as you still come out to that 14,000 calories for the net total for the week, you're still going to maintain. So if you're someone who's just not hungry on rest days, sure, you can reduce calories by say 400, take out 100 grams of carbs from those days, and you could even put that 100 grams of carbs towards your training days where you actually feel more hungry, or vice versa, because I have had some clients, and me personally, where I train really hard on a training day and I'm just so beat up that I don't even feel like eating. So what I'll do is I'll reduce that day, eat more on my next day, on my rest day, or I'm just chilling, being lazy and want to veg out on the couch, have some snacks, some chips, whatever, a little soda or something, some chicken tendies, whatever I want. Does JPG ever suffer from lower back pain? And if he does, how does he combat it? There was a point within my first 5 or so years of lifting where I felt like my lower back had exploded, and it was so bad where I could barely walk, barely do anything. And it was all due to mismanaging my programming, mismanaging my fatigue, not allowing for enough recovery, because at that point in my training, I was of the mindset that I had to squat, bench, deadlift, and I wanted to go super hard on it. So I was doing heavy lifts for those up to twice a week for each of those movements. So heavy deadlifts twice a week, heavy squats twice a week. My lower back could not handle it, and that's why I kept tweaking it. So it wasn't anything specific that I did. It's just that I had a better understanding of what I needed to recover and knew that I just couldn't take all that volume for movements that loaded the spine like that. So I essentially just reduced my volume, allowed for some more rest days, allowed myself to take some time off of movements that loaded my lower back while I was recovering. So I swapped out squats for things like leg press. I took deadlifts out completely at that point. I just did things like seated hamstring curls, anything else that works the hamstrings and glutes. You know, I actually didn't even do any glute specific work. So I basically just swapped the deadlifts out for my other leg movements that didn't load the spine. You can go and look at what those are elsewhere, I guess. Or maybe that'll be another question. You think I can do 55?
I think you can do 60.
You think I can do 60? Steven, you flatter me.
Steven, you dog.
You dirty dog, you.
That looks good.
Are you ready?
We're ready.
Oh, they're so heavy.
Wow, there we go.
Oh, these are too heavy. These are actually hammer curls. I tricked you guys. See how I'm doing them good? Oh, I would never pick a weight. It's too heavy. Because I know myself. And I was actually going to do this the whole time. All right, let's do another question. Let me see which ones I haven't answered.
Last and final question.
Last and final question. Oh, that's a pretty good one. You're the father of optimal. I disagree. But how often are you actually worried about what's optimal? I think a lot of people take it to extremes. I like to get within the ballpark of optimal when it comes to my training, my nutrition, and I understand that shit happens. So I'm gonna have to make exceptions here and there, but so long as I'm within striking range, then I'm happy with that because I'm gonna continue making progress. Now, if you wanna be a top tier athlete, you're probably gonna have to dial in a bit more than your average Joe, but you can be 10 times better than the average Joe, just getting in that ballpark and trying.